Hello everyone, welcome back to another update on the big trip number 2. Getting to the end of my trip now. I just spent 6 weeks at a community in Uvita, Costa Rica called Awake from November 26th through January 7th. So this video will be about my time there, what it was like, and my process. Pretty small community, on about 5 acres, about 15 to 40 people living there, depending on the season, which when I got there was going into the high season, and now they're in the high season. Been around for about 4 or 5 years, from 2019, I believe. I wanted to ask more about like land ownership, governance, decision making, and I forgot. So my sense is that originally it was one landowner, and now it's kind of like a handful of people, and they have like a bigger team of 10 people that are kind of like making the main decisions. But what like I've seen in the past, ultimately at the end of the day, it's the landowners who get to make final decisions. Obviously they'll take advice and input and things from the team though. There's 4 types of people at this community, which is very similar to others. There's the team members, which are like residents who live there. There's the crew members, which are like work exchangers, like me, who are there for at least a month and working and paying a little bit to live there. There are guests who are paying to stay at the community and not working or anything, and just paying more so that they can be there and participate in everything. And then there's visitors, which are people from outside of the community coming for like an event that day. Sorry, I'm in San Jose, Costa Rica right now, and there's kind of loud city life outside. So yeah, I was a work exchanger. I worked 20 hours per week. And on top of that, I had to pay $25 per day that I'm staying there. So $7.50 per month, and working 20 hours, mainly working in the kitchen and other kind of miscellaneous things. Really love the people there, very beautiful, nice, inviting. As soon as I got there, inviting me to lots of things, which I've seen that is a big determiner or indicator of the health of a community, as far as like, are people nice, and are they inviting, and like, are they willing to give new people their time? The property, like I said, pretty small, clean, beautiful, kind of fancy, all on septic tank, no compost toilets. Some of the mirrors had like a button you could press, and they would like the light would come from the mirror, so just kind of fancy, which I did like. A lot less mosquitoes. Like I was at Pachamama and near Nosara, about 6 hours north of here, last April through June for 2 months, and just, yeah, like hardly any mosquitoes here, which I loved. I don't know if it's the time of year or not. Beautiful river that goes alongside the community. 2 shalas, one shala by the river and one main shala where we'd have our dance churches and lots of events and things. Lots of different types of accommodation, from like tiny home, buses, a house, to casita, bungalow. At some point people were in tents, dorms. But yeah, so I've been traveling for 2 years, visiting intentional communities all around the world and comparing them to see what I like and what I don't like. And I kind of am getting the sense that this is less so of an intentional community. I mean, what is an intentional community? There's probably multiple definitions and different parts that go into that make it that. But this was feeling like less of an intentional community and more of like an event center business where they host lots of events and people come to. My sense of like more of an intentional community is more people owning the community and the land, and therefore more power distribution and more decision making spread out, and more of a process behind decision making. I loved it. Uvita, the city town, was just right there, so I could easily leave and go see other people or go experience other things. There's waterfalls, beaches, restaurants, shops. Some insights I had were that I don't need to share everything, and that the difference between authenticity and honesty and transparency and that, some things, like I've felt in the past that if I have some awkwardness or some tension or some trigger between me and someone, especially in this community, I'm seeing them every day, that I have to talk to them and I have to clear this, and kind of come to the realization that, like the Buddha said, as far as wise speech, is it true, helpful, timely, kind? Does it improve upon the silence? Does it increase more connection rather than separation? And finding that sometimes it's actually not that helpful or timely, and that it's okay for me to hold something. Well, it's okay for me not to share everything, and that some things I can keep for myself, or I can share them with someone else that's not that direct person. In general, I'm very comfortable expressing my desires and my preferences, and I can have a lot of them. And I found just, working with people pleasing and caretaking, I had gone to a temple one night, I had gone to a cuddle party, and other things that involved like consent, boundaries, expressing desires. And just finding that, like one time I was massaging someone or touching someone in a certain way, and they didn't like it, and they moved my hand, or they asked me to stop, or they asked me to do something else. And I felt that was subtly a form of rejection, and that they were rejecting what I was giving them, and that was slightly hitting my wounds of like not being liked, valued, accepted, loved. And so I project onto someone touching me that if I tell them that I don't want it, I'm giving them rejection, and that maybe this will hurt them. And so that's why when I receive massage, sometimes it can be hard for me to ask them, like, I need more pressure, I want different touch. So we did a workshop, and at one point someone was massaging my arm, and I didn't really like it. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to give them rejection. And then it kind of hurt after, and I was like, wow, I was totally caretaking and people pleasing in that moment. So just, some insights around that. Also, just kind of a reinforcement that dance is so healing for me, and that it rids my cravings, and that after dance I feel like I have like no cravings, whether for food, sex, tobacco, just like not there. And that I experience a lot of joy in dance, and like a lot more than I experience with a lot of other things. And just the dance is this universal language where I can like meet people and have a conversation with someone without even using words. And that right now I'm feeling like it's my winter, and like I'm from California, and this is my winter, and I'm feeling less extroverted, more introverted. I have less energy. And that when I go to a meal and everyone's eating at this community, I'm like, I don't really have the energy to like talk to these people. But I can easily go to a dance and like hang out with them and dance and conversate with them, and that way without words. And so, and that it's universal, and like people come from all these different countries and speak all these different languages, and we can all dance, and we don't need to necessarily speak the same language. Another insight I had, I went to a temple night, like I said, and I just realized I'm not really into like group sexuality, and what I really want is like tantric eye-gazing love-making with someone, and like not a public space and not a group space, with like being private. And I have this like fantasy picture of the first Avatar movie, where Jake Sully is with his partner Neytiri, and they're like making love for the first time underneath the tree of Awa, and it's just like so magical, and like they're so in love with each other, and realizing that like that's really what I want. One more insight I had was that I had gone to the river at one point with someone, and we had like a rupture and a conflict, and we're really not feeling good about being around each other. I'll speak for myself. I wasn't feeling good about it, and I had a memory of an idea someone shared of like, when you're in rupture with someone, sit down with them and share 5 things that you appreciate about each other. So we had done that, and it just like totally flipped the energy, and we felt really great about being around each other. And then I felt really great about it. I think they did as well. And then we were able to have a great time at the river. So I want to remember that is a possibility. Next part, I'm going to go into some challenges I had about being at a wake. They were by far the heaviest technology using community that I've been to. Like I said, I've been to 13 communities now on this 2-year tour, and most communities I go to are they have a lot of technology free spaces, and that a lot of them technology is not allowed in common spaces, and that there's like a designated Wi-Fi internet cafe or area where you go to be on that. And just like everywhere at Awake has Wi-Fi, and so there's EMFs everywhere while we're sleeping. There's lots of group chats. There's Google spreadsheets, many of them for different things. And I was getting the sense, I experienced this myself, and I was getting the sense that it was causing people who work there to feel like overwhelmed and burnt out and busy. I know that acknowledging that we were going into the high season, so there's lots of like amped up energy of like events and things happening, and acknowledging that this is a new community and it's kind of infant stages, relatively speaking. A lot of these other communities I've gone to have been around for 20, 50 years or so. So there's still, and they're developing stages, and I think that they're deciding to use technology a lot more so than other ones. And maybe that's needed because they're a smaller group as well, so they need to like be more efficient with and organized with their things. But just, noticing that in myself, that at one point I had gone into their main kitchen hangout area, and there was like 10 people spread out everywhere, and everyone was on their own technology and not talking to each other. And one person was walking through the main walkway just like on their phone. And just how technology I think I have seen contributes to less connection and less presence in people. And I would like to see the community that I'm in have probably less of it. Another challenge I had was that I had a judgment that there was kind of an imbalance in like shadow versus light work here at the community, and that there was like too much light work, and that I wasn't really getting the sense that people were really expressing their shadows. And I come from Santa Cruz, California, where I don't know if that's just the norm there. I've been to a lot of other communities where it seemed like people were a lot more open with like their triggers and trauma and wounding and shadows and challenges. And I just didn't really see it that much. And then I remember at one point I was just like, if I hear another like sigh breath or like group oming, I'm gonna leave. A little bit of exaggeration there, but I just didn't get the sense that I didn't feel like people were being real enough, or they just like weren't sharing those parts, or maybe they weren't being pushed to their edges enough. Because I get the sense that everyone is going through challenges, and their wounding and trauma is being activated. Maybe less so often at Awake, I'm not sure, but I'm like, there's no way that it's just not happening here, and that I'm just not seeing it. People aren't expressing it to me because I'm new. And then after being there for a month and a half, people did start to share that they were having stresses and challenges and things. So I did see it. I don't think it was shared so much in a group setting, and whether it was a sharing circle or not. Just comparatively to like other communities that I've been to. And I kind of miss that. I like seeing that healthy balance of shadow and light. Again, these are just all my perceptions and my judgment. Everyone, of course, is going to have a different perception of this community. And I really miss having a sharing circle at the community. The last 2 communities I've been to didn't have one, and they had started to try and have one on Wednesday evenings, and then it just like kind of fizzled out and didn't happen. I don't know if it was because we were going into the high season or people just weren't really into it, had too many things going on. Yeah, so I really want sharing circles and the communities that I stay at. I think it's very connecting, and just to see like where everyone's at, because it takes a lot of energy to go around. Like I get up and I walk around the community and 20 people say, "Hey Austin, how are you?" And I gotta tell everyone 15, 20 times how I'm doing, whether it's like I could just have one sharing circle and I could really share this with everyone. It takes a lot less energy. Another challenge I had was staying in dorms, which when I had interviewed with the Awake people before I had gone, they said, yeah, you can pay a lot more and stay in like a cabina, casita, or you can stay in the dorms. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try and stay in the dorms. And I knew it was gonna be challenging, and it was, and I'm a very sensitive sleeper, and any sound or movement is gonna wake me up. I have my earplugs in, I have my white noise machine or white noise playing on my phone, and then sometimes it wasn't loud enough, so then I had to play it on my Bluetooth, and then I got Bluetooth going through me while I'm sleeping, which is not the best. So my sleep is just really messed up, and I'm just realizing how much of an impact that obviously has on my well-being, and that when I sleep well, and I have a quiet, safe, still place to sleep, I feel a lot more sharp and connected and safe and less reactive and grounded and more creative, and my memory is a lot better, and I do everything a lot faster, and yeah, just realizing like how needed that is, obviously. Last thing as far as challenges was just like, again, reflecting on the ethics of me being here in like Central America and a place where people don't have as much money, and like the topic of cultural gentrification, and that like, you know, here we are Westerners coming in with like lots of money and like buying land and developing and then bringing more of us. And I talked to a sociologist on the airplane actually coming here, and they were saying, yeah, that is a big thing, and that people come with a lot of money, and then other people like fishermen had to move away because they just couldn't afford to live here anymore. Big business and everything coming. So I had talked to some people about that. I'm still not quite sure what the answer is. I talked to one Tico, which is a local Costa Rican. He was about 40 years old, and he was saying he's been here his whole life in Ovita, and how there was some things that he liked that changed, and some things that were pretty harmful, he thought. Someone said too, one of the biggest things we can do is to bridge the cultural gap is to speak Spanish. And so I've been just really working on my Spanish and feeling like I'm at, just like an intermediate level now, and being able to have basic conversation. And so now some of the things I really loved about being at Awake were the dance church, probably the main thing. Every Sunday we had a contact improv, like hour-long dance, which would go into an ecstatic dance, and then like a live music concert, sound healing after that, which goes into our lunch together, and then everyone just gets to hang out and go to the beach or the river or do whatever after that. So Sundays were just super fun, which I've seen like on the Big Island, that was a big thing where Sundays everyone dances and hangs out together, and how that brings so much connection which bleeds into the Awake community, which bleeds into the Vita community. Had some really great days with some like smallish mushroom journeys at the beach, and just someone was saying too that everything in Costa Rica is amplified, and it just felt like, wow, yeah, it felt like that, and that just like the strength of the medicine felt a lot stronger. We had a New Year's Eve festival that I really loved, 3 days long, being a work exchanger, getting to contribute to making that happen. And we had Moe's come, and Kuruwaka, which is a medicine band, and I've just like heard them a lot in other medicine journeys, and like listening into them and seeing them live is just incredible, and how it just like brought me back into previous journeys that I've had listening to them. I love that there's contact improv at Awake, and I was hosting contact jams about once a week too, so it was cool that they allowed me to come in and host some things. I hosted Authentic Relating and a passion show. yeah, so that was definitely some highlights. And yeah, just last thing as far as New Year's Eve and kind of resolutions, I had two things kind of come to me. Last year was to live in alignment, and this year is equanimity and permission. And equanimity and like realizing the second noble truth that suffering comes from craving, and how I have a lot of craving in my life, whether it's subtle or strong. And I had a really great example of this yesterday. I was on the bus coming from Awake to San Jose, Costa Rica, and it was the same thing coming here on the bus that it was going there, where there was this person right behind me playing something on their phone, like really loud, like some sort of car video game where you're just like crashing noises happening. And I was sitting next to my friend who was also on the bus with me, and I explained to her my whole process with this of like craving things to be a certain way. And it was like, do I ask them to turn it off, put headphones in, lower the volume, or do I just like try and accept it and be with it? And she's like, well, you can ask them to turn it off and you'll be comfortable and free for 5 minutes until the next thing comes. Or you can treat it as a meditation and try and work on alchemy and acceptance and sit with it. What's happening in the body? Holding the pain with compassion. Can I bring my awareness to other sensations besides that? Again, yeah, feeling the body. And if I can find the equanimity and the alchemy and the acceptance and the meditation in that moment, that really that is the answer, and that I won't just get freedom and comfort and for 5 minutes until the next thing comes, but I can have it for a lifetime. And yeah, so equanimity is really my New Year's resolution, at least I'm feeling now, and permission is the second. And that I just really, again, I'm like in my winter right now, I'm feeling less motivation, less energy, less extroversion, and just giving myself permission to rest, to not be social, to not work on projects, to go with the flow, do what I want when I want to do it, which obviously is a super privileged thing. Eventually I'm gonna have to work again. But yeah, that is it for now. Thank you. I'm going to Thailand tomorrow, to Koh Phangan. It's an island there where I've signed up for 5 dance retreats, contact improv dance retreats in a row, and then I go to a tantra retreat, and then coming home February 28th. And I can't wait to see everyone. I love you all.